What is going on, YouTube? Class is back in session today. We are looking at the best team given the new units that we got on the last couple banners and kind of doing a whole recap of the month of January here. Stay tuned, let's get to the video. Alright guys, so as usual you have the details for the giveaway on your screen. Make sure that you're subscribed. You must be a subscriber in order to enter the giveaway. Make sure that you're liking the video and that you are dropping in the comments below the answers to the 2 questions I'll be asking you throughout the video. And of course go back to the previous videos within these dates in order to get all of your chances to win in before the end. So let's get into the video. Now, the first thing I want to start off with before we start talking about the actual best team here is the obvious whale versus free to play, or not whale. Maybe you put a bit of money into the game but you haven't gone the distance. Your best team will vary based on that. So now when I say whale, I mean at least 5 stars on all of your units for the team that we are going to be talking about. That being said, this here, the Trinity, still the best team if you are not a 5-star whale. This is very important to understand because essentially the easiness of this team, the complete brain dead, no skill required, no thinking. I mean, you still need to play the game, yes, but basically there's no strategy. You're picking the same 3 units regardless of whether it's advantageous or not. Basically all you're doing is you're going to the matchup and you are praying for crits where you can just one-shot your opponent. That's basically as in-depth as this team's playstyle goes. You're using Bardock to buff your team. He's getting buffs from just being with the Super Saiyans, and you're abusing of the brokenness of Broly. That's basically as in-depth as this team goes. That's why most of the players who don't kind of put that much time or money into the game, and I mean this is a cell phone game, let's not forget, let's keep things real here. People aren't going to take this game as seriously as something a bit more in depth, right? This remains a game that you play on your phone, maybe on your way to wherever, school, work, on the way back, sitting in the subway, whatever it is, right? Now that being said, this team is basically as pick up and go as you can get, and that's why most people will consider this the best team in the game, because let's face it, most people aren't kind of trying to min-max every little detail. They want a team that they can be just picking up, find very reliable, and just go and dominate, right? So this is your team right here if you are anything short of 5 stars on the following units that we will be looking at. That being said, yes, the movie team is still the #1 team. The new units actually made it better because we are getting even more double buffs. So you can see here I kind of changed the layout a bit on how we're going to be looking at it, because other times I was talking about the buffs, but I find it a bit more user-friendly, viewer-friendly actually, if you actually see these buffs on your screen, right? So you can get a better idea of what I'm looking at, what I'm talking about. So now again, we are actually way above 2,000. I kept the 2k ability boost there so you can just kind of get a rough idea, because it's going to depend on how many stars you actually do have on these units. So you're going to be over 2,000 no matter what, but whether you're at 2,100, maybe closer to 2,000, will depend on your gear, will depend on how many stars you have, so on and so forth. Obviously if you have 7 stars across the board, you're going to have way more ability boost than someone that only has the 5 stars. 5 stars though, that is your minimum. If you do not have 5 stars on all your units, the Trinity is better. Keep that in mind. As much fun or as much as you like these units, if you're trying to min-max, and remember, this is the theme of this channel, outthink and outplay. So we're looking at facts here, we're looking at math, we're looking at, the numbers won't lie here. So let's start off. Now obviously we have our PyCon, which is still there. Now this may surprise some people. The reason why I keep PyCon here is because he is providing the movie strike. I keep saying strength because I'm used to STR meaning strength, but movie strike defense, which is one of the few strike defense buffs that we're going to have, as you'll see across here. He's actually the only strike defense buff that we're going to get, other than the cooler buffing the Lineage of Evil. So that's going to mean the 2 cooler units benefit from it, but the rest don't. So this is a bit of a step in a different direction from the last movie team's iteration, where we had something like 75% strike defense. The reason for that is because we're starting to see a bit more of a balance between the blast and strike defense. So what I'll actually do, given this, okay, and you'll see that coolers, the coolers are actually really important here, but I'll kind of orient my gear, the 3 item slots that we have now, right, to make sure that all 3 of those item slots have the strike defense on them and a main stat. So essentially you're going to be getting tons of damage, tons of tankiness, especially from the Red Fury Broly, but we'll get to that in a second. But basically you're going to want to stack all the strike defense to amplify these huge stats that you're getting. The 9% yellow HP actually benefits our Bojack over there, who has like something like 900,000 or close to 1,000,000 health when he's at 5 stars. So if you give him 19% more health, that's actually a lot. I mean, obviously those numbers are after your soul boosting and all that, but it ends up being a huge portion. So he is actually quite huge over there. Now as far as Pycon himself, will you be using him? In most cases, no. The primary use for him is to counter Freeze Force, obviously, with his anti-tag. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting the damage by picking this unit. So with Cooler being released, it kind of gave us a bit more of a reason to use Pycon, because some people are running him with Frieza because of the whole lineage of evil situation. So you don't want to be running Saiyans. So obviously you see how well diversified this team is, right? You have a whole full color wheel, you have Saiyans, you have non-Saiyans, you're kind of mix and matching to kind of be ready for any situation. But let's finish with the units and then we'll talk about how the team functions, right? So obviously the Red Broly, we can get him to 5 stars now if you complete the whole story mode and all that. 26% to movie the strike attack. So he's bringing a bit more damage. Obviously the only unit bringing the single buff, but I mean, his utility as a unit that will bring you the 20% more damage done. So kind of the whole Bardock Cooler theme going. But his counterpart, where the second portion, right, where they do damage and they give you something else, for him it's a damage cut. Now in a meta where everything is one-shotting you, where the Trinity is running wild, you want this kind of permanent damage cut, right? Not just on switches. Basically he switches and whatever unit he switches into will have that damage cut. I can't stress how important that is. If you remember when I released the original movie team, you saw my blue Goku tanking Kaioken Goku like he was level 2. Essentially that's what we're looking to do here by stacking these buffs. Now he doesn't do much damage on his own. He is quite strong, don't get me wrong, but he is still a free-to-play unit. The bulk of your damage is going to be coming from the next 4 units. And yes, I include the green cooler there. Obviously, if you've been following this channel, you can see him one-shot people left and right. Now, the blue cooler bringing us the lineage of evil buffs. Now the double buffs end up buffing the other cooler as well. Now this is actually really good because he brings some strike defense. The green cooler as well as the blue cooler, both of them are quite squish actually. They're not made to be super beefy, they're made to be damage dealers that do a lot of early damage, especially the green cooler with his buff for the first 30 or so seconds. So the blue cooler here will actually be the unit that will be run with the green cooler at all times. You can, I mean quotations, you can run him with the red Broly and stack the purple Broly to have the double blast penetration, but I personally find that's a bit of a waste because the blue cooler running with the green cooler, you have a double threat of one-shotting people, especially if you have a blue card or your ultimate ability on the blue cooler. You will legitimately one-shot people, and I mean like when one shot means 100 to 0 the enemy unit, especially if you have type advantage. And even if you don't, honestly, green cooler with a blue card will one-shot most people. So you can kind of run the whole cooler Broly comp, but I don't recommend it just because you're missing out on a lot of damage. I would rather run something like blue cooler, green cooler, and red Broly, or blue cooler, green cooler, and purple Broly, just to kind of maintain that lineage of evil synergy from the cooler. The cooler will do way more damage on this composition than the Broly will. The Broly is a lot more of a tank on this team. He does tons of damage, don't get me wrong, his stats are ridiculous, but if you're looking for that color scheme, I mean, there are green units, he's going to crush them for sure. But because a lot of people are kind of staying away from the green units, I mean, some people are using the green Vegeta, but I mean, that's trash tier anyways. Most people are using blue units, right? So having that green cooler buffed by the blue cooler becomes a huge priority, while you can keep them safe by switching out and trying to stay away from the enemy's purple Broly, right? So that being said, the red units that they'll be bringing, you have the blue cooler for, and then you kind of have a wide variety of different units that you can bring depending on the typing. So this is where the Holy Trinity kind of falls off, right? They have 3 units, 3 colors, you know exactly what they're bringing. I mean, you can easily bring these 2 coolers, and there's Gogeta and the Bardock right there getting one shot. If you touch them with either of these units, with the type advantage respectively, you literally just delete them on the spot, no questions asked. Now, obviously the green cooler here, he's bringing a lot more damage, which is the really interesting part to having this green cooler. This is probably one of my most used units since the blue cooler came out, just because he brings, yes, the one-shot potential, but he also brings the utility. His main ability increasing your ki by 50 to continue those combos. So even if you want to switch over to a main ability, or just extend your combos with blue cards, so on and so forth, you have that at your disposal. He also brings his green card, which will destroy the cards for the enemy, which ends up being huge because it also has a chance to feint. So kind of a really big deal. This unit is really a game changer on its own, but we've talked a lot about him in the past, so I won't kind of go into all the little details for him. I want to talk about Bojack on this team, because it's the kind of unit where he's excellent on his own because of all the self-buffing, right? Obviously he can get buffs from the red Broly, and I find that generally if I'm going to run 2 Brolys, he's usually the one that I'll bring with me, just because he brings that big damage, right? And there are a lot of Super Saiyans still, Broly being a Super Saiyan, the Holy Trinity being all Super Saiyans. He does very well in this meta, especially with his ongoing buffs. Now, how to stay out a bit longer, I will make a video on at a later date. It's actually really hard to get to 15 seconds, especially in this fast-paced kind of meta, but you can squeeze out at least that second buff if you're rotating correctly, and when you force the enemy to rotate correctly, right? Ways to extend your combos, so on and so forth. So you're definitely trying to make as much use of his kit as possible in order to pump out as much damage as possible. That being said, he's likely going to be replaced very soon. I'm thinking when Gogeta drops, I would be very tempted to replace him or Pikkon. It's going to depend, because as the Super Saiyans slowly disappear when we move into the next meta, it's likely going to be the type of thing where we don't need those Super Saiyan buffs anymore. So either Pikkon's going to disappear as Lineage of Evil disappears, or Lineage will be even more important when Gogeta gets released and we have a Broly Gogeta type of rampage going on. So we may see more of the Frieza team. I don't know. We'll have to see how it kind of shapes out. Gogeta is still a big question mark right now, but we're definitely looking at one of those 2 yellow units to be gone once Gogeta comes out, because he'll likely have that movie tag. So we'll be updating this probably sometime during February, if he gets released, that is, at this point. And of course, the buffs that we're getting both from him and the purple Broly, double stacking the damage. We got some defense for Blast off of him, Broly giving us the double damage buffs, and of course Broly just being Broly. We've talked about him to death. We don't need to go over what he does and how stupid he is, but what's interesting now about the team itself, okay, is it kind of covers all of its tracks. Where the Holy Trinity has weakness in, for example, being predictable in the color typing, here you actually have direct counters to those colors, except for the Broly. Obviously nothing counters Broly right now, but getting that Bardock and Gogeta kind of fear into them, just because they see the double coolers coming for that booty. You kind of have the advantage off the bat, right? As far as the working together part, now you have different comps within this team. you can mix and match based on what your enemy has, because a lot of people are trying to test different things, right? They're trying the God Key, they're trying the Zamasu, going back to regen, they're trying different types of comps, and this team can have a variety of different ways to be run, but you're always looking to bring buffs, okay? What makes the Holy Trinity strong will make most teams strong. So in this case, you're looking at the blue cooler and you're looking at the red Broly. Those are your two kind of pillars for the team. So either you're going to run the red, blue, and green together, or you're going to be separating them really entirely. So for example, blue, green, yellow, or blue, green, purple, or you're going to be running red with, for example, yellow, purple. You're going to kind of look for ways to separate them. You won't run something like, for example, purple, yellow, green. You know, you just wouldn't do that. There's no reason for that. Even if you have to give up a one type advantage on one character, it's worth it to bring the buff so that you can one-shot the rest of the team. So do keep that in mind. Now, as far as what we're going to be doing for the questions for this video, I'd like to hear how you guys have been running the movie team, because I know a lot of people have been testing different things, and I did see different variations that could work here. Just because, for example, if you don't believe in the PyCon, you could actually run the EX cooler, which arguably brings better buffs to the team. So definitely drop that down in the comments, how you are running your movie team, as far as usability, being ready for every situation, and putting all the chances on your side for winning a game, no matter what the opponent kind of shows up with. This was the best comp that I could come up with. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And the second question: have you seen the Broly movie yet? I really want to talk about the Broly movie, but I know a lot of you have not seen it yet. I do want to point out, guys, that at some point, somewhere on YouTube, there is a perfect copy of the movie floating around. Obviously, I can't link to it on the channel and all that, copyrights, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying, if you live in a country that does not have the showing of the Broly movie, literally just right now YouTube it up and you can find a perfect copy, like the kind of HD leak that you've been waiting for. It's probably up on anime sites too. I mean, if it's on YouTube, it should be everywhere else, but it is out. I may or may not have watched it recently, and it was great. But again, you know, I'm trying not to talk about it on the channel to not spoil it for anybody, but definitely let me know down in the comments without giving spoilers to anybody. Let's keep this a nice toxicity free community. Let me know what you think about the movie down in the comments, without giving any spoilers, obviously. And if you have not seen it, then I encourage you to let me know, and then go ahead and look for it, either on YouTube or so on if it's not available in your country. It is up and it is glorious. Alright guys, that's all I got for you today. We'll see you in the next one, where we'll go through actually a few different teams. We have a lot of fun different builds that we can go through with all the new units, so lots of content coming up this week, lots and lots and lots. So make sure that you're subscribed, and I will catch you later. See ya.